In the last session, we have seen how the debt trap diplomacy has pushed China to take up what is called as the hardline stance, and India being very critical of this debt trap diplomacy, particularly in its neighborhood. Probably India has become part of such a hardline stance that China has taken up. Secondly, now we shall look at how what is called as the face mask diplomacy has played out. Remember, China probably had the intention of making the most out of the pandemic. How do we know this? We know this by number of measures that the China has taken up. Probably this is what we had to conclude out of all these measures. Primarily, what China has tried to do is it has tried to buy up much of the world's available supply of protective medical equipment, PPEs. In January itself, it has engaged in later on what is called as price gouging, and apparently it has also looked for mainly profits. Here, you should not think that this is a far-reaching statement. Here, I say so because the Chinese government, even though has begun some shipments to other countries as part of aid packages during the later stages of the pandemic, where it has donated probably 250,000 masks that have been donated to Iran, then which has been hardest hit by the pandemic, and then 2 lakhs face masks to Philippines. Such measures have been taken up, and in fact, South Korea has received 5 million masks recently, and apart from this, China has exported 1 lakh respirators and 2 million surgical masks to Italy also. All these were available in the news articles. Out of these news articles, this information can be gathered. However, we see that China seems to be looking for some sort of political influence from all these nations to whom it has donated out of what is called as generosity. This is called as politics of generosity. Again, by the European Parliament. Politics of generosity. Out of such politics of generosity, it has also tried to garner some kind of political influence. Here, this political influence has been garnered by China by announcing these measures not by the Chinese government but by the diplomats who have been posted in these nations. Even today, if you look at the newspaper, the Chinese ambassador to India has announced that whatever the aid that the India must receive will be available on time, in spite of the fact that there were incursions which were going on in the border. We see that the ambassador has given such an announcement. This announcement has come from the ambassador's office but not from the Chinese government. Same has been done even with respect to all these countries which have received support from China. This is part of what is called as political influence by having all these top diplomats announcing these donations. So it is certainly making this provision of generosity as a tool of its foreign policy. If I move further, if you look at the announcements made by Germany and Czech Republic particularly, they have blamed the export of face masks and they have blamed even other protective equipment. In Italy also, where the government has placed nearly all of the population on lockdown for a few days, for a few weeks, masks and other protective medical supplies have not left the country without authorization. That means all these countries have put ban on export of these face masks and other personal protective equipment. The governments did not anyhow give what are the production numbers that they have and how many masks that they need over a period of time in order to reduce the risk that the population is facing. However, you find that the officials in Belgium, officials in Netherlands, officials in Austria and other such European countries, they have warned that such curbs are preventing supplies from delivering to the neighboring countries. This is where China has stepped in. China felt that these bans are undermining the collective approach to handle the crisis, and hence it felt that it would be supporting all these countries. Apart from this, Spain, Turkey, Canada, Norway, Slovakia, Austria are some of the countries which have been reporting some of the defective medical gear which have been sent to these countries by China, meaning whatever the Chinese exports are there with respect to all these personal protective equipment or face masks or whatever that similar medical equipment that they have received in order to fight this coronavirus pandemic, it seems to be substandard one, or it seems to be the defective medical equipment. And because of this, we find that the prolonged war against the pandemic has seen some sort of deteriorating conditions, which has added to the international anger. In fact, even India too said that they want to send back this defective medical equipment. This is very, very crucial. Here, this entire defective medical equipment which have been exported by China, it was also part of what is called as profiteering by China. That means most of these defective medical equipment have been exported by the private entities. So to be fair, here again we need to distinguish between the aid that was given and also whatever the equipment that was sold to various countries by private companies. That's what I was trying to make here. So most of the defective equipment which have been sold by the private sector were sold for profit. So understandably, though most of the foreigners would not care about such distinction, because in their minds it will be all about the poorly made substandard or defective equipment from China. The point here is that China has followed one particular policy for decades together. What is that policy? This policy came to be regarded by the economists as what is called as quality fade. Quality fade. What is this quality fade? Here it is all about the deliberate action. The deliberate action and secret action. Deliberate action and secret action, and this action is all about selling the equipment to the countries for widening the profit margins through what? Through the method of reducing the quality of the materials that they are supplying. Here this practice focuses particularly on extracting profit through short-term maneuvers that invariably militate against the long-term development. Simply, it says that the approach do not look at having some long-term strategic partnership. If you look at the methodology of Japan and Korea, you feel that their success and the strategies of their economies have been with a focus on building the market share and also developing strategic relationships. So this entire aspect of the policy or the phenomenon of quality fade that the China has followed was looking at the short-term profiteering that the private entities in China have followed. Probably this has received the backing of Chinese authorities. This is where it is very, very difficult. This is where India was very critical of these protective equipment, number one. Number two, India was also critical of the test kits that have been purchased from China, which were also some sort of defective one. If you look at the test kits that have been supplied to Italy, they said that they were effective only in 35% of the cases, but not in the remaining one. You can see how this might have contributed to the further rise in the threatening levels of the pandemic. So put this entire aspect of face mask diplomacy. Into perspective. There are 4 points that you must remember here. The first point is that the virus has spawned in China. Secondly, we find that once it has found, they hid the virus behind the shield of the WHO. How they have done, I will explain it a bit later. The third thing is that what they did was they basically hoarded the entire PPEs that are in requirement by various other countries, and fourthly, they also try to get profits out of all these medical equipment which are in urgent requirement by various other nations which are facing this pandemic. If we move further from this issue, you find that the Chinese hyper action in some of these issues make it much more complex geopolitical issue. This is how the entire incursions probably must be seen from this particular perspective. How? Here you must remember that since the times of Zhou Enlai, Deng Xiaoping, you find that China was never receptive to any outside criticism. So it has developed another kind of diplomacy which came to be regarded as the wolf warrior diplomacy. Wolf warrior diplomacy. Here you must remember, as I told you, China seems to be wary of whatever the damage that has been done to its domestic political control. Hence, it was never receptive of the outside criticism. And apart from this, in order to counter this, it always tried to have very, very prolonged economic outreach, and it has hence responded even aggressively for any such development. So these recent incursions must be hence looked at from this particular perspective. So what it has actually tried to do is it has combined this medical aid to other countries with very, very harsh national rhetoric. Here it has mixed the demands for gratitude with what is called as economic threat. These were the four dimensions which were intermingled by China even in the recent pandemic and its response to this recent pandemic. So the result has been only the added momentum to whatever the blowback and the growing mistrust of China that has been seen a rise in Europe and Africa, undermining hence China's desired image as a generous global actor. This is where you find that wolf warrior diplomacy has come into being. Even before the virus, Beijing has displayed a fierce approach to the public relations, as you know, from many issues that we have seen in the recent past. And as a hence, as part of this, an aggressive style which has been taken up, which is part of the ultra patriotic nationalist stance that the Chinese diplomats take up, this expression called wolf warrior diplomacy has been attached with. You find that there are a new brand of Chinese diplomats that are visible. These Chinese diplomats seem to be competing with each other to be more radical and hence eventually insulting to the country where they happen to be posted. How am I saying this? Here, remember, they have gotten into fights with every northern European country with whom they should have an interest, and they have alienated every one of them. There are many examples here. Since the virus, you find that the tone of Chinese diplomats have toughened. Number one. Number two, you find that this has fueled anger and destroyed economic growth in countries where they have posted, along with even China's also. So in the past several weeks, if you observe again from the Hindu newspaper, you find that at least 7 Chinese ambassadors to France, to Kazakhstan, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, Ghana and African Union have always been summoned by their hosts to answer whatever the accusations ranging from spreading misinformation to the racist mistreatment of Africans in Chinese provinces. So all these developments are to be seen from part of what is called as wolf warrior diplomacy. Even you find that in the first week of May, China threatened to withhold medical aid from the Netherlands for changing the name of its representative office in Taiwan to include the expression Taipei. Apart from this, even before that, you find that Chinese embassy in Berlin has sparred publicly with Germany's newspaper, which has demanded $160 billion in compensation from China for damages to Germany from the virus. So this is how Chinese diplomats seem to be encouraged to be combative from the central authorities in China. However, in the long run, what this has done is this has encouraged various other countries to build mistrust, and it has encouraged other countries to demand their interests against China. Because of this, Chinese domestic politics, which have derailed its ambitious goal for a peaceful rise as a global superpower, seems to be in jeopardy. Because of this, we find that China probably started to get control over the geopolitical situation that is emerging. So whatever the health diplomacy that it has begun, whatever the control that it wanted to have over the virus, it seems that China is clearly under very much pressure. Moving further, whichever the major exporting nation to China has issued any statement against China, particularly in relation with the current pandemic, that has received lot of Chinese inflammatory statements. If you look at these statements issued against Australia, which has announced its desire for an inquiry into the virus, we find that Chinese mouthpiece called People's Daily has issued a statement which is saying that Australia is a gum which is stuck to the bottom of the Chinese shoe. Such inflammatory statements have been issued, and along with that, the ambassador of China to Australia has clearly threatened Australia, having risked her long-term trading partnership with China for taking a stance which is supportive of American stance. And here, Australian Foreign Minister has called this attempt as part of economic coercion. You see how the entire flare-up in geopolitical situation is seeing a larger perspective getting built up. Along with this, many other European nations such as Germany, as I was telling you, have developed a lot of mistrust with China. They felt that the dependency on China for any vital materials with respect to probably even what is called as the requirement of 5G networks and the technologies required for that, to the extent of even pharmaceuticals, which has been subjected to a lot of crisis during the current pandemic. In each and every supply chain network, the role of China seems to be developing lot of mistrust. This is how the hardline stance in the form of wolf-line diplomacy, in the form of health diplomacy, has been pushed forward by China in order to counter all these major developments. And if you observe clearly, whether it is USA or it is Quad or any other such big nation, you find that they have been issuing statements saying the changed world order post-pandemic. In this situation of changed world order post-pandemic, the primary reform would be with respect to the entire supply chain network. China is realizing this fact, and hence it has increased and upped the ante against not only the neighborhood but also against many other nations who have been trapped by it substantially. Along with this, if you observe this nation France, it has traditionally very good relationship with Beijing. However, it has also been angered by the critical statements that have been issued by the Chinese diplomats, including the fact that they have charged France of deliberately leaving the older residents to die in the nursing homes. This has prompted the foreign minister criticizing these statements to be going beyond the presence of Chinese ambassadors in France, beyond the objective that they are meant for. Same was true with Germany, same was true with Poland, same was true with many other African nations. So this has been seen as part of the xenophobic rhetoric of the wolf warrior diplomacy that we are seeing today, and hence the entire hardline stance that China has taken up now is part of such wolf-line diplomacy that has been backfiring against China on these global scenarios. India, according to her own official accounts, has been in touch with all these nations which have been receiving a bang from the Chinese hardline stance, and probably this entire issue of recent Chinese incursions into the Indian landmass must be seen in this larger perspective. And if you observe the today's newspaper again, China has announced that it will vacate all the Chinese nationals from India immediately after June 2nd. So this also has been seen as part of the flare up being taken to the next level. We shall look at the further issues in the next session.